Let's get
The
let's
cats
get
are
into
driving me insane, though.
the cats. You have cats?
There's 3 cats. They're
Oh my
nuts.
god, that's a lot of cats.
I know, but not by myself, my fiancé too. It's
Oh, okay.
one is his cat, and then one we got together, and then we split up for like a year about 7 years ago, and then I got one cat, and then we got back together, and now we have 3.
Do they get along?
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Clean Break, a podcast dealing with art and business powered by Always Art. I'm your host, Matt Gondek.
Not the boy and not the blind one. We have a blind cat. She has no eyes whatsoever. He actually got her from Istanbul.
Wait, it just doesn't have the eyeballs at all.
She has no fucking eyeballs whatsoever.
How does it? I mean, I'm gonna ask dumb questions, and I already know the answers. But like, how
Please
does it
ask
get
every
around?
question.
Like, how does
I
it
mean,
get
she just
around?
does. I don't know. I mean, we don't know how she lost her eyes. We just know that she doesn't have them, and she was in a cage for a very long time in Istanbul, and they had to take her eyes out because they were so infected in her face, and then we took her back to the States. But she gets around normal. I mean, to me, it seems like she never even knew she had eyes. So I don't know what happened to her. I don't know what's going on, but she walks around normal. She does everything normal. I mean, she may not be able to jump like really high on things, but
Yeah.
the funny part is my fiance's mom took back another blind cat, and he's able to jump on tons of shit. This motherfucker's nuts. So I don't know. It's like it depends.
Is it like if you move a chair like 2 feet to the right out of nowhere, the cat?
She'll she might bump into it, but she also might feel it. She'll like kind of like she's kind
Okay,
of
so
like
she's not just
a
like running
Slytherin
around.
little. No, I mean she runs sometimes, but then I
Okay.
mean she does bump her nose and hit things sometimes, but
All
not
right.
as often as you would think.
Can we just talk for an hour about the cat? I don't want to talk
Yes,
about you
you
anymore.
can. Her name is
That's
Jim.
that's great. Wait, did you go there to get the cat, or were you already in
Well,
Istanbul and you're like, oh, there's a cat
so
there?
my fiance is Turkish, and
Okay.
he's first generation American Turkish. So he's actually he's in Greece right now visiting with his mom to go to Turkey at the moment. He's away for 2 weeks, but he, uh, he went there with his mom. And usually, what happens is his mom brings like medicine from the States here and takes it to the vets there because they don't have
Nice.
certain medicines. And she's been doing that for a long time. And she's also been taking back animals for a long time too. Like she's got a crazy dog with 3 legs, like huge fucking dog. And like a bunch of different fucking cats that are just crazy. Like one of them has one eye. Yeah, one it just lost the eye because it fought another one of the cats, but it didn't lose it in Turkey. But then also the blind cat, so she's all in it. But then so when they went there, they went to visit the vet, and my fiance was like, "I'm gonna get this cat that has 3 legs," and that's what I thought he was bringing back because there was a cat there with 3 legs, and then all of a sudden he's like, "Oh." Actually, we can't find that cat because I guess it was like, I don't know, in Turkey, there's cats loose everywhere and doing
Uh
stuff. And
huh.
so he's like, I'm just gonna take back this blind one that's been in the cage for 6 months. And I was like, oh fuck, here we go. So he
Is this
just
like a competition to find the worst off cat? Like I was gonna get a three-legged cat,
probably
but I found one worse.
probably
I mean, it's
to
very
me,
nice that you're
everyone
doing
should get
this.
the worst off. Get the worst off cat everywhere. I mean, I
Yeah, you're
mean,
right.
don't get me wrong. I I try not to judge too much, but sometimes it annoys me when people are like, I need the perfect pet and I need to go to like, a breeder or whatever. I'm like, I don't know. There's just so many pets out here that need a life and they're the
No,
best pets.
absolutely.
They're amazing.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Let's talk about you.
Yes.
Literally right before I sat down, my assistant here was like, "Who you interviewing?" I'm like, "Oh, Swopes," and she's like, "Is that the girl that does the art on her phone?" So I think that's how most people know you because even when I met you, I think we met at ComplexCon at a Secret Walls thing, and I think Terry, the guy who
Yes.
runs that, was like, "Oh, she does all her work on her phone." So what's that
Yes.
about?
I was
What?
second place, almost winning against Blake Catherine. That was really fun.
Yeah.
Um Ah, man, let me tell you about that. So that really, in essence, is like it started because I didn't have anything else but a phone. I was a
Hmm.
broke college dropout. I really was just so I was so young and I just didn't want to do shit that anybody told me to do. I'm telling you, like, I don't know what it was, but I didn't want a real job. I didn't want to go to school. I really couldn't even explain to anyone what I wanted to do, but I just wanted to create art and like be online and just like fucking express myself, because that's what I've been doing since I was like 10 years old. I mean, I was
Mhm.
homeschooled by my dad. My dad's still a teacher, and I was homeschooled about till 7th grade, or not 7th grade, 4th grade. And when I was homeschooled, I was getting taught a lot on the computer, and that was something that was like really comfortable for me, from like creating digital art on like kid pics to like I don't know, just like expressing myself on AIM or like Zanga or like random little friggin' websites like Angel Fire or something, whatever was out there. I was like just like messing with stuff and teaching myself HTMLs. So by the time I was like, 18, 19, 20, that's kind of when I was like, all right, I was kind of homeless because I was sleeping on a blow up mattress at a friend's house who was a DJ. And my mom was like, oh, you can come back home. And I was like, hell no. So I was like, I didn't even want to live anywhere. But I was just like being an assistant. I was making album covers. I was also a rapper for a little bit too, which was really fun. And then I don't know, I signed up for Instagram, and then I got this broken iPhone 4, and then I found this like group of people who were taking photos on their phones on Instagram, and I was like, this shit's kind of different. And then I was finding these different apps on my phone that you could kind of like do different layers with, but only to an extent, like it wasn't like Photoshop or anything where you have like unlimited ability and like a big canvas. Like it was like a limited like 800 by 800, 400 by 400 pixel, and then like you can do a couple layers, but then you'd have to destroy each layer by like combining them because you couldn't add anymore. So all of my art was
Mhm.
just like really destroyed, but like so different and like interesting. So I was adding like animals and clouds and waterfalls and all types of different shit to like cityscapes. And that's like kind of what happened with the iPhone, to be honest with you. I mean, I mean, it's made me who I am in some crazy way because it all led to where I'm at. And I think if I could keep pushing that forward, and I've almost like forgot about that part of myself because there's so much else now,
Yeah. And we all
being
got
on
started somewhere.
fashion. Yeah, for sure. But I want to keep that going because I believe in that. I believe in the ability of having the phone and doing whatever you want with it at any moment, and then coming back to your desktop or going to your iPad. I think the phone should be just as included in every application than everything else. I mean, I don't know. I'm a huge advocate for it, whether it's through Apple, whether it's through Adobe, whether it's through any product. I'm like, yo, what's going on with the phone?
Fair enough. So,
And
uh,
I'm most comfortable there too, to be 100% honest with you.
really, even now, like you still
Oh
didn't you
yeah,
develop an app as well? Like, okay, you said like you were doing this on your phone, it wasn't that great, like two layers smashing together.
yeah.
Didn't you make your own app to do this?
I did make my own app. Now, James is absolutely amazing. He's been working with Brain Fever Media, and that's his company actually. He's been producing all these like crazy apps that have been in the market that have been a huge help to me as a creator on my iPhone. And so he reached out like in the middle of 2020 maybe, and he was like,
Mhm.
"Hey, do you want to make an app?" And I was like, yeah." And we had time, everybody had time. I was like, I've been dreaming of making an app or doing something fun.
Yeah.
So, um, knowing the ability of his apps, I put together like this whole plan. I literally like from top to bottom was thinking about like what is it going to look like, how is it going to feel, what is it going to do, and I wanted to invite people into my world, which meant we needed giraffes, we needed waterfalls, we needed cityscapes, and we needed layering, we needed filters, we needed the ability to mask, like all these different little things. I think were really important to the making of it. And it's not supposed to be like an end all be all app, but I really
Mhm.
am thinking also too, like, what's the future for younger people to engage with these types of apps? Because I actually, excuse me, I actually did a talk in partnership with MetaMask and Super Chief at the Children's Science Museum, I believe, in New York. And there was like, it was the most chaotic day of my life, probably, but it was really fun because all these kids were probably from like age like 4 to like 10, maybe. And I had to show them how to use Urban Jungle app. And, some were there with their parents and some were not. And some were loud, but some were quiet, and I had to navigate, and it was like insane, but they
Yeah, that
enjoyed
sounds
every
like a
bit of
nightmare.
it. I
That's
mean, it
good.
was, I'm telling you, it was insane, but they enjoyed every second of it. And I realized the best thing you can do for any kid, and this may be something I'll do in the future if I have children. Um, they really like if you plug in an iPad and then screen share on the screen, because they like to see them working on the screen, and then they'll be like, "Oh my god, it's changing on the TV." It like blows their mind. So if you ever
All
want
right.
to distract a child, that's the perfect way.
Got it. Okay, fair enough. So, do people, I mean, I'm gonna ballpark here, but at the time that this app came out, did people care more about your artwork or do they care more about the app?
Um,
Let me back up. Let me ask you a different question because we're jumping ahead pretty a lot here. Like, I met you during like the NFT like boom, whenever, and like we'll get
yeah.
into that. Like, you're killing it there, but like, what were you doing before before NFTs kind of exploded? Like, obviously, you were making things, and like I think I read online you were more leaning towards like an Instagram influencer kind of thing, and like teach people how to do that. Is that what you were doing?
Yeah. I mean, I've been an influencer for shit like ah 12 years.
Okay.
And I've been working with like everybody from Apple to Adidas to Adobe to, and that's with the A's. If we can get down to the W's, like
All
and the
right.
Z's, I mean, like, but been working with a ton of people over time, and I think, I really love doing it, and I talk quite a bit too about this concept. People are like really obsessed with like what's an influencer and what's a creator and what's an artist. Like everyone wants to be something and they don't want someone to kind of limit them into that. But I don't give a shit what people think I am. At the end of the day, I'm still like this weird hybrid of a person who just says yes and figures it out later in so many
Hmm.
ways. I think life at the end of the day is to experience stuff and to like figure out how you can implement yourself, but then also make someone else shine while you're in collaboration. So like for me, when it comes to a lot of these brand partnerships over the years, like maybe there was some where I was like, I should have probably said no to, but I was like, I'm gonna say yes because I need to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Absolutely.
experience. So I
Yeah.
literally 99% of my whole resume is probably a lot of things that I was just like, I've never done this before, but I'm just gonna fucking try.
No, that's good. I think that's a good thing to do. What
For
was that
sure.
like in the beginning? Like, you had all these companies now approaching you, like, "Hey, we want to work with you." How were you figuring out, like, okay, this is what the deal is going to look like? I get you were just saying yes, but were you like
Yeah.
negotiating with them or just like, what do you want? Okay, cool.
So it depends, because I started off with a one manager, who was
Like right
also
off the bat.
yeah,
Okay.
yes and no in a way, because I was so early. I was like, I'm telling you, it was like maybe 2011, 2012
That's
for
like right when Instagram was kind of like
yeah.
exploding.
I mean,
Okay, very
it
beginning.
happened fast. Like everything happened so fast because you
Yeah.
have to understand that also my first manager was at New York City. Like that's her handle, okay? And she
Oh.
also has been in like documentaries about Instagram. She was like, I mean, there's like a lot of different stuff. And so she actually worked for an agency called Mobile Media Lab, and I was a part of that agency. I was one of the first people to sign with them. And
Hmm.
so then she left that agency and went with 24/7 Laundry Service, which is a part of like a whole other bigger agency. And that was a whole thing. But basically, what happened was it just got too fucking big. Everything got too fucking crazy because it was so at first it was so chill. It was like, oh, we're just getting free backpacks and we're like going places and taking pics and having fun, and then it was like, okay, we're getting paid and now we're traveling across the world and now we're like meeting celebrities and now we're working with Nike, like, and doing Nike's first fucking influencer project ever. Like I was the first person to do Nike's
Oh,
influencer
wow.
project ever. So, and they don't do that stuff anymore like that. So, and they do, but to an extent. Like we were the first people to do this crazy Nike Trek run thing, and then we like flew under the Golden Gate Bridge, all this crazy. It was fucking nuts. Um,
Wow. That's great.
but it just went too fast, and then I think also she became her own thing, and so and then they started signing like hundreds of people because then influencers and creator. I mean, it was an influx of photographers at some
Yeah.
point in like 2014, right? I mean, it got nuts. Like 2014, 2015, it was like okay.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so that's kind of when I was like, all right, I need something else. I need someone who can focus on me as a person, because I'm starting to get a little bit more awareness of like what's going on with, like, I don't know, just how I needed attention, or there was a lack of attention, or I was not being like spoke about as much as I was anymore, like, so there was all these things I was navigating as a new artist who had also, just mind you, become um a suggested user on Instagram. So I was getting thousands of followers a day. I mean, like, thousands and thousands, and I was like kind of freaking out because I'm like, okay, now I have to do shit for these people.
Yeah.
Like, now I have to Instagram's chose me. So now, like, when people sign up, my face pops up and I'm like, "Hey, I'm the person that's going to teach you about Instagram." So it was a like really really fun, but then it just became a lot where, and this is the time where I started like dabbling a lot in like Adderall, which just to like make sure I was getting shit done. I got addicted to Adderall, and then I went into a psych ward because I stopped it cold turkey, and then I was having all these like crazy thoughts about like killing myself.
Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, I called my mom and I was like, "Listen, something's not right, and I need you to come get me." So they put me in the
Yeah.
hospital. I was in there for like a week to get clean, and it was nuts. But I mean, no one really knew what was going on, and at the time, I'm making like thousands of followers. You know what I'm saying? It's just like,
You're like
what
doing the
is
thing
going
everybody wants, but
on?
then it's like not going good for you.
It wasn't
It
because it
happens so
didn't.
much to like artists. Like you think you want this thing and then you get it and you're like, oh shit, this actually is way more than I thought it was gonna be.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
and I can
Adderall
see
thing I was
how.
doing, yeah, same.
Yeah, I can see how everyone kind of crumbles at these points.
Yeah,
And
like you
I
think you have
crumbled again.
everything, but
That wouldn't be the last time.
yeah, I was gonna say I didn't know all this about you because you've now like, had these highs and lows throughout your life. Like this sounds like a high then a low. Then we're gonna get to the NFT stuff. I think we all went through a thing there. So let's jump ahead a little bit. So it came to a point where like this is way too much. Is this when you started going more towards I'm going to make art now, or like what was like the next step there?
The next step, I actually ended up going back to school. I went back to
For what?
college. I went back to Columbia College Chicago, and I went back for graphic design.
In what
And
year?
oh gosh, what year was I going? 2013 to
Oh wow.
15ish, maybe for like a couple semesters. And then
Okay.
it got rough again because I was just like, not, the thing in your 20s, I think we all know it's a tough time for the mental, okay? And you got to really make sure that you're not doing what your mind tells you, that you can be aware and mindful of choices in your soul versus like the mind stuff. So I was becoming an addict again at the time, like towards the end, like Xanax. I was hanging out with all the wrong people. I was just like not, I don't know, it was just like not aware whatsoever. And I say that word a lot, but like that's literally it, because I remember one day I woke up and I just like fucking, I was like, I'm either gonna die or I'm going to change everything. And I just like realized that so evidently. And then I changed everything. I just dropped, like, I literally cut off so many people. I started working out. I started reading, meditating, writing. Um, Stopped doing drugs like cold turkey. I didn't even have to go anywhere. I just like started doing everything the opposite of what I was doing. And that's kind of why I like came into like all my daily sunrises and like all the different shit I'm in now. I would not be here if I didn't have this like weird fucking wake up call one day where I was like, "Oh, yeah, I am here and now I need to put some pieces back together."
Was there like a very particular thing that happened that you're like, okay, you hit this wall and you're like, I got to change everything, or was it just like just over time you thought about this? Like every time I made a big change in my life, I hit a wall. I'm like, okay, you can go one of two ways right now, bad or good.
I think, to be honest with you, I was I was it's crazy because I was with a couple friends, and one of those friends has passed away since from a drug overdose. So I think that I just, in my heart and maybe my soul, maybe I'm not very religious, but I am spiritual, that I felt something around me that was like, all right, we can't be like this anymore. And it was a wall, maybe to an extent, but it was also just like a realization, like a brain switch. Like I was like, wow, I think I can do other things than what I'm doing, and I should
Got it.
probably do that.
Yeah, 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 totally. Yeah. Well, I had no idea about any of that about you. You just seem so how you are now. I just assumed that was like how you
I
always
know.
were.
I've had a
Yeah.
long life, many chapters.
All right. So, okay, let's move ahead then. So you make
Mhm.
this decision, and now you're taking care of yourself. Did you drop out of school?
I did drop out of school, yeah, and I failed, like, 2 of my classes. I take, like, Fs, and I, like, had to go to the not the dean, but, like, one of my advisors, and I had to, like, send in this proof of, like, some doctor's note that I was, like, going through something. So I had to go to a doctor, I had to get a note, and then they, like, excused me from the classes. It was, like, a whole thing.
Isn't it fucking ironic that like of all the people in the class, you're the one that like I worked with Nike, and I'm the one failing graphic design class, and I've made graphic design stuff for that's fucking crazy.
You let me tell you, I mean, I remember very, very distinctly one time I was on my way to Japan. This was in 2015. I was going to Tokyo, I was going to Kyoto, and I was going there for a shoot with my fiance. And I told one of my teachers, and I remember her going, "Oh, that's so unfortunate." And I was like, "That I'm gonna
What?
be going on a shoot, not in class?" Like that was my problem with school, and it will always be my issue with school is that we're stuck in a box and we're taught by people who have no fucking clue what's going on anymore sometimes. And especially people in tenure. They're like,
Oh,
so
totally.
anyway, just gonna it's just like I just always was like not buying the bullshit from anyone. And then that's kind of also what kind of spun it. I was like, I'm just sick of this shit. I'm tired of everybody. I don't get it. So I
Yeah.
did drop out. Yep.
I
And I
honestly
did
didn't even know kids still went to school for graphic design. I mean, obviously, I know this was like 10 years ago, but even at that point, I went to school for graphic design, but it was like 2000. And I figured I'm like the last person on earth that went to school to learn it because like I just assumed you watched your videos to like learn how to do stuff now. So
for
that's
sure. No,
yeah,
I just figured it would be the most rational thing to do.
got it. Okay. All right. Okay, so let's move forward then. So you leave school and what are you doing? You're doing graphic design yourself then or what?
Oh man, so I leave school and in 15, 16, this is maybe 17.
Are
Let
you
me see,
still working with like companies at this
2017.
point?
Yeah, and I don't know why. I don't know why they're still working with me because publicly I'm a mess, but I am now getting it together. It's
Okay.
like I don't remember a lot of my Zanny phases. They're a little messy, but um I think also I now at this point am really in a mindset where I'm getting better. I'm like I moved to a new place. I got back with my fiance because we broke up for a year, of course. I wasn't at my
Got the
best.
cat.
Got my cat, exactly, my third cat, which is, I mean, we are so grateful for every day. It was a difficult time, but like Buddy is our boy. Like that's our dog. Like I can't even imagine our life without him. I call him my dog, but he's my cat, but still. um, but so I don't know, I just got it together. I started working with like so many different people from Adidas. Started working with Apple again. Started doing an Apple talk about because I used to do these things now. Like when I started getting better, I was posting these reminders, and there were these notes that I would write when I would be watching the sunrise, and I would record my voice with the record or with the writing, and I'd put it in my Instagram stories. And then like people I don't know what was going on. People just loved it. Like people like sometimes I would miss days and they'd be like, "Where's the reminder? What's going on? Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Okay, I'm just living my life." Like it was probably like 5 years that I was doing that.
Mhm.
And so in between that 5 years Apple reached out and said they wanted me to do an Apple talk about the writing. And so we had like a bunch of people came and they like had iPads and they were like working on it and like writing their own little reminders and like affirmations and recording them. It was like really, really cool. Um, and so I think, I don't know, I was just becoming different. I was doing like more front facing talks. I had more story to tell because I was out of it. I had a TEDx talk at the University of Urbana Champaign, which was
What was like the
huge.
title of that? The TED
Child
Talk?
of the internet.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah. It was about, like, my failure and successes all the way there, like, I
Mhm.
couldn't even have that story without,
Yeah.
like, without those crazy moments in my life. I don't know.
Got
I
it.
just am so grateful now. I'm so
I have
grateful
a
for
bunch
all
of
those
notes.
crazy times.
I'm not gonna follow these notes because now I have all kinds of different questions. Going back to like you're talking about, okay, I posted these things online every day and people really like them. I noticed you did something I actually quite like. I mean, I'm not the only one, but like I think you're great on social media because you're you and you're outspoken, but then you're also positive. And I'm gonna try to remember this. I didn't write it down. Like around like January, maybe February, you start doing these videos where it's kind of like, hey, like the algorithm isn't as strong as it used to be, but like I don't care. And like now this is just me being myself.
Mhm.
I thought that was really cool because I think like anybody like me, you, like we're all like grew up with Instagram and like getting these thousands of followers and all this like love and like fake attention constantly. Then it kind of goes away because
For sure.
fucking line of code changes. So like it
Yes.
messes with you. So I'm glad you were talking about that. But do you think like okay, someone's listening to this right now. There's someone who's maybe like 16 and just loves you and everything you do, and they're like, I want to
Mhm.
be the next Swopes. Do you think they could do exactly what you did to get to where you are, or because things have changed so much, they'd have to do something else?
Man, I do think luck is preparation times opportunity. And if sometimes the opportunity is right, it makes sense. And if you're prepared, it makes sense. And both together makes like obviously the greatest outcome. But like, obviously times have changed quite a bit. But I do believe that the more we're able to express ourselves and the more we're able to share ourselves and our lives and our story with the people around us, the better we can get connected to the things that we're supposed to be connected to. And
Hmm.
sometimes it may not look the way you expect it to look, but I think if we show up with gratitude in the moment, um, it'll really solidify the foundation of that moment enough for us to allow it to be a stepping stone to the next. So I say all that to say is that um, we live in a very like get to the next moment type of society, you know, in a
Yeah,
generation. I think people are like, how can I get more? How can I like do more? Like how can I be more? And sometimes sometimes what is now is just enough to start. Like just like start where you are, and don't wait for that perfect moment because this is the time right now. This is where it begins with everything around you that is the opportunity. And yeah, that's how I feel. But it's hard when when all this shit is shoved in your face to make you think it matters. None of this shit fucking matters. None of this fucking shit matters whatsoever. Nothing, because manifestation to me is not like this magical type of shit. Manifestation is talking about it, practicing it, being about it, reading about it, living that shit, breathing that shit. If you fucking do that shit, it'll happen for a fact. But
yeah,
you just have to persevere and you have to push through and take every failure as a lesson. And that was one thing I never allowed. I never allowed my failures to stop me from going. Like
yeah,
I was everything. I was always kind of like, okay, even though I may have been my own worst critic, I was also my own best fucking friend. Always my own best friend. Like forever. I'll be by myself. I'll laugh my own jokes. Like but that's something that I think is just like been so crucial is because I've always been able to like pick myself back up. Even
yeah.
when there's
I don't think a lot
nobody.
of people can do that. Like the
They
whole best
can't, but you
yourself is your best friend thing. Like
it's hard.
especially creatives. You know, I know personally, like everything I do, I just like beat myself up about it. I think a lot of creatives do that. So that's good
That's
that you can do
crazy.
that.
I know.
It's not. It's like normal. It's not normal, but it's normalized.
It is normal. It's of course it's normal, but I only say
Yeah.
because you're just so talented.
Oh, thanks. Very nice.
Of course.
So, okay, let's just talk about NFTs. I'm sorry, there's no smooth transition
I
because
don't
that's
care. That
whenever
makes total sense. It's the time. It's the
you're
transition.
just like this huge NFT person and like you were in every talk and like no matter which convention it was at, you were talking and you always had
I
these
don't know
cool
how.
hats on. Yeah. So like so how did that happen? Like I mean I mean I I mean you could just talk about it, but like you were obviously at the forefront of a lot of that, you know? I
Yeah.
mean, how did that all happen for you? Like what happened? Like
Yeah.
it's
Speaking of
so dumb.
NFTs, I
Like,
just like
can I
lost
say one more
it.
thing?
Yeah,
I
of
want to say
course.
one more thing that to kind of pepper
Please.
this in. And like, this is like, I was researching you obviously before this talk, and like, I hate that this is the problem I always had with NFT artists was that all the news headlines was like, "Hey, so and so made
I
$200,000,"
know.
and that's your headline. It's not like, "Look how cool her artwork is. Look how
None.
hard she works." It's like she made a bunch of fucking money off of JPEG. Look at her. That's so weird. So, like, what was that all like? What happened with all that?
That was a little scary, I will say. People be pocket watching out here, texting on the side, be like, "Hey, I heard that you sold a lot of stuff." I'm like, "Oh my god."
Yeah.
No, but I don't know. I cried. I remember crying, and I was like, "This is gonna change my fucking life. I'm never gonna have to work again." That was not the case, but
No.
um, but I really was like, I felt a huge fucking shift in my life. I mean, I just knew everything was gonna change, but late 2020, I'm hearing word about a lot of different stuff. I have a lot of different friends, especially Beeple was a friend of mine. And we had worked on like a couple Adobe projects together. We had traveled together on Adobe stuff. And then my friend, Jay Silva, another friend,
Mhm.
Jay Silva, he is amazing photographer. And he was like selling out crazy collections with the homie Thank You X on Nifty Gateway. And so I was just seeing them and I was like, okay, this is weird. I don't know what's going on. But my answer to that was to put a digital download on my website.
Okay.
That's how much I didn't understand what was
Was it
going on.
like a phone background or what was it?
It was just like a phone background. It was just like, hey,
Okay.
just download it. Like, and I didn't
Here.
understand. I clearly didn't understand blockchain. I didn't understand what was going on. I mean, it was kind of embarrassing in hindsight because I'm just like, yeah, everyone's selling NFTs, but here's a download on my website. Like, it doesn't make
Mhm.
any sense. But, um, so I start getting on calls with people. Uh, and also my manager's like telling me, he's like, "Okay, everyone's telling me you need to do NFTs." And then I'm getting DMs from people telling me I need to do NFTs, like a bunch of fans. And this girl that I met at an event once, she's like an artist, and she's like, "Just by the way, you need to do NFTs." And I was like, "Oh shit, okay." So started getting on calls with people, and then I started like really reading a lot of like books and blogs and websites and like all types of stuff, like even watching people's interviews. I was doing so much research. And so then after I did a lot of my research and I understood like really what it was, really like how solidified it was and how historical it was and just how important it was. And so I was like, I need to do something that's really gonna fucking be great. Like I gotta really think about this because I don't want to just post any old thing. Like I don't want to mint any old thing, right? Like I want to do something that I've never minted before. I want to really tell my story. I want to really fucking like pop out. So figured out how to get on Super Rare. Really lucky with that. Got accepted like right at the time where it was like before everyone was like, why the fuck can I get on Super Rare? I got
Yeah.
on right on Super Rare. And then got an interview on their blog, which was really big as well. Cause I was like, I need people to know my story. I needed people to know where I came from. And then minted my first piece, which was like that waterfall piece. And it got, I mean, I was I was really upset because I didn't know how to mint, okay? So I don't know why I never got to the point of asking someone like what the actual process was for minting. But when I minted my first piece on Super Rare, I thought that I could hide the piece once I minted it. But once you mint it, it's live. Like people
It's
can bid on it.
yeah,
And
immediately.
so yeah. And I didn't realize that. So I minted it a day early before my blog, the blog interview was dropping. And I was like, oh, fuck, I fucked up my whole shit. I fucked up everything. I fucked up the whole like drop. Like,
Yeah.
and so I was just really upset. But like, I was also like, oh, fuck it, whatever. But then I started getting bids. Started getting fucking bids from people. Started getting 1 ETH, 2 ETH, 7 ETH. Then we hit 10 ETH, right? And I'm just like, what the fuck is going on? Because ETH at the time is like $4,000. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like pumping. It's like, and everyone's like, oh, shit's going nuts. Like it was crazy. So sold the first NFT, I think for like 10,000 or 17,000. I'm not sure. I can't remember what the price was at this point, but something in the high range of like 15, 17,000. So I was like, wow, I was crying in a video. I was like, this is crazy. I'm never going to work again. My next piece is going to go nuts, blah, blah, blah. So I made another piece and that sold for like 18 ETH. And then the next one sold for 19 and the next one sold for 20. And then I was like,
Jesus.
all right, things are happening. But then things were different. Things were different really quick. I also sold out a collection on Nifty Gateway twice, and did some other really fun things like showed at Art Basel with like 007. It was really crazy. The actor, I forgot his name, but he was nuts.
Pierce Brosnan?
Yeah, because he does art.
Really? Oh, he
Yeah.
does. He's a painter. Yeah, he
Yes.
is a painter. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I was
yeah.
showing at this crazy event with him. Like it was unbelievable. So life was like feeling real different. I was like, wow, I'm like one of these people. I'm gonna like show art everywhere all the time, and I'm like a
Yeah.
real artist. It was weird because to me, I'm an iPhone artist. Okay, you know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? Like
But
you
you were,
can
like,
know my
perfect for
story
that,
from
though.
now. I
Like, you were the
know.
perfect person because, like, you just do artwork on your phone, and now it's,
It's
like, the perfect
crazy.
outlet. It's
It's
great.
crazy. It's nuts.
Yeah.
There's no one else in the whole world who has done something like that. So to me, it was like, all right, we're here. We've made it. But the problem was is that I was still seeing some dynamics that were like from the old days of everything. Like,
What do you mean?
still the crypto bros were still winning, like people of color were still not getting the attention or the support they needed. We were getting less bids because we would be outspoken about fucked up stuff that would happen. Like, for example, I was a part of this really big reveal of this artist who was selling nudes of female models who had no idea that he was selling photos of them. And so I contacted one of the models, and she was so distraught and so freaked out, but she ended up contacting him, and I wanted to do an interview with her, but eventually they got in contact with one another, and now he pays them, which is amazing, and I'm
Yeah,
glad I was
good.
able to do that work.
Yeah.
But the fact that he's still a very, very prominent figure in the space, and that there are huge collectors and some of the most biggest collectors in the space who support him and will still support him even if they know that he's done really horrible things in the past, that to me was a really tough thing to swallow. And it was a and there was a lot of other things on top of that. But so that's when I started Sunrise Art Club. That's when I started my creative impact agency, that where I created the daily sunrise drops, for a whole year, which it was probably the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life, to drop a new NFT every single day for a year, but it was worth every fucking second.
What were
And
they? Just tell me what that is, because I knew you had the group, but I didn't know you were doing, like, a daily thing.
Yeah. So when I first had started my morning routine, waking up at 5 a.m. and reading and writing and like getting my wellness together, I was living on the 21st floor in Chicago and downtown, and I had the most amazing view of the city that I had never even noticed before. All of a sudden, again, my awareness was like on 10 because I'm reading books, I'm like meditating, I'm like seeing shit I've never fucking seen before. Like life is fucking different. And so I'm like taking pictures of the sunrise every single day for 2.5 years straight. And so when I hear and see all these different successes of NFTs, and I've done all my own collections, but not really a PFP artist, obviously, but not really someone who's gonna like, do some kind of other collection that's like based on my regular artwork. So I'm like, shit, maybe I could use those sunrises because I've got 700 fucking pieces of them, right? So I decided to do a 365 project where every single day we would drop a brand new NFT every single day, starting from January 1st to December 31st. We started on January 1st, 2022, and then dropped a new sunrise each day. So there was a January 1st sunrise, January 2nd sunrise, so forth and
Mhm.
so forth. So it was nuts. It was nuts. It was cray cray.
Those were for
But
people to purchase.
yes, yes. And you can still buy them on OpenSea or anywhere, really.
Okay.
They're all up there.
Got it, got it.
And a big portion, like at first we did 75% goes back to our fund, which we do like tons of charity work. Like last weekend on Sunday, actually, we did our second year of supporting Black women affected by gun violence. We did a photo shoot day where they had styling, hair, makeup, tons of food to eat, tons of drinks. Just a lot of like a perfect relaxing day, and they got like their headshots taken. I would be posting like a recap on my Instagram about it, but things like that. And then also starting our incarceration project, um, was just like the first marketplace for incarcerated artists, and among millions of other things that we always do. We're now also producing a party at Art Basel. So that's gonna be huge. I can't tell you
Yeah.
with who yet, but it's gonna be one of our biggest partners yet. It's gonna be fucking crazy. And all while having a full-time fucking job, while also being a content creator, while also doing so much shit. Oh my god. I'm like, also while I'm talking to you, I'm also seeing like all these approvals in, because we literally, while I just started this talk, we're getting an
Uh-huh.
approval for our venue. We just like we've been waiting
Oh,
days
amazing.
for it, so it's huge. It's a huge deal right
Very cool.
now.
How
Yeah.
does that work with the artist? I read about that. The artists that are in jail that are making artwork. Are
Yes.
they allowed to where does the money go? Are they allowed to make money when you're in prison?
Yeah, you can make money when you're in prison.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on who's holding it for you
Mhm.
or where you're holding it. And I mean, they have jobs, but I think you can't necessarily have a bank account while you're incarcerated. So people, what they do is they have someone on the outside
Yeah,
who either holds their money or has a bank account in their name, and then they make payments to their books or buying their quarterly packages or something like that.
got it. Okay.
Mhm.
Sorry, I was just curious about that.
No, no, you
I
should be curious. We're actually starting a whole new program called the Emancipation Impact Network, where we help educate people on incarceration, like how you can help, what you can learn more about, how you can even talk to people who are incarcerated, just so you can get to know what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know any of that stuff. I have no
Yeah,
clue. Yeah, that's pretty good.
it's not as
Um,
scary as you would
you
think.
you're still so the sunrise. You're still doing all this right now.
It's doing a lot of stuff.
Is it only you? Are you still like making brand new like artwork for that, or is there other people, or are you just using money just from the past? Like you said, there's 365 pieces. I imagine so. Obviously,
Mhm,
those ended December 31st, 22.
mhm.
What's going on since then? Like I know you're doing events, but like are there still where's the funding coming from at this point?
So the funding mostly is coming from different partnerships that we have from brands. I've
Got it.
somehow changed Sunrise to be an agency. So now we partner with brands and individuals to promote different ideas, different events, produce different events for different pop-ups at NFTYC or Art Basel, or maybe sometimes in Chicago, or other places. So it
Okay.
depends. But we're fairly new, but we're having a great time. We've already done some crazy shit with Glen Morangi. We've done some amazing stuff with Seed Brooklyn in New York, which was such a fun time. It's a dope streetwear brand that people should go check out in Brooklyn. But yeah, it's been great. We're excited.
Got it. I like to keep these things about an hour. We got 15 minutes. Let's talk about
15
Adobe.
minutes. Oh, yes.
Your title is so Senior Community Relationship Manager and Evangelist for Adobe Express.
Yes.
How did that happen?
Oh gosh. Okay. So yeah, my
Sorry,
job,
what does that mean? What does that mean? Can you like dumb that down? That's so many words.
it is a lot of words, and sometimes I even have to question like what am I doing, cuz it's amazing job. I literally get to do what I do have been doing for the last 13 plus years of my life every day, or maybe my whole life, to be honest. I get to be on the internet. I get to
Yeah.
create content, get to plan content and plan with other teams about different things, and then I get to do demos in other places around the country. I get to do cool team meetings. I get to do like oh, I'm always in Reddit. I'm always in Discord. I'm always on X. I'll give it respect to that extent. Twitter, and Threads and Instagram, looking at other people's content that they create. So I'm engaging with Express content. I'm feeding back information that I receive from people on the outside. So if someone says like, hey, I'm having trouble with Express, I can't do this, what's going on, I always have an answer for them, and I'm always able to go back into with our team and say, hey, this is what's happening, and they will give me an exact answer about when it's going to get fixed, if they're working on it, what we can do, and usually we get it solved pretty quick. It's
Amazing.
pretty fun. I love
There's
being
like
on this
three.
side. I
It
feel like I
sounds
have
like
so much
there's three
power.
of you. Yeah,
There
that's
is.
great. Uh, Jesus. So how did this happen? Did you apply for this job? Did they just
I
offer
did.
it to you?
Hmm.
Okay.
I applied for it. Hmm.
Okay, got it. So I mean, I don't know. I guess I don't really have any other questions about that. That's you just from the outside looking in, it's just like you're right. It just seems like a natural progression of what you've been doing. But I
Yeah,
guess you're like a friendly, helpful person for someone who's just downloaded their first Adobe software and they're like, how do I
I
use
would
this? And they see
say
you.
I am like a glorified PR person to an extent where I
Okay.
am supporting the community connect with Adobe and I'm making sure that Adobe connects with the community. So I am the ear on the ground and I am the voice on the ground, making sure that I'm just not someone at Adobe, but I'm also someone on the ground who now has access to Adobe, who has more ability to do events, mixers, projects, swag, tons of different strategies to like make sure that we are hearing the community and seeing the community.
Okay. Got it.
Mhm.
That's great.
I
Uh,
love it. It's the most fun thing I've ever done. Like you get to, you telling me I get to get paid every other week to help people? I fucking am telling you, it's the best fucking thing in my life.
No, it's great. There's such a big it's such a big company, but I don't like Adobe's one of those companies I don't think maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like no one hates Adobe. Everyone likes Adobe. Like no one's ever like bad mouthing Adobe. It's just
No,
like, yeah, they're around, they're great. Like I use all their stuff. It's I don't know. So it's
for
probably a
sure.
good are they in New York?
They're all over the place. We are
Well, I
in
saw
New
you would go to
York,
an
San
office somewhere.
Francisco, San Jose. I think there's a bunch of others around the world, but we also have like people in the UK. We have people in Italy. We have people all over,
Got
everywhere.
it. Okay. Can
Yeah,
I ask Adobe? I'm going to ask some Adobe questions. We don't have to like focus on any like software or anything, but like
for sure.
obviously like everything is going towards AI now. I've saw it. Adobe Umbrella has started implementing that. Is that something that you're like helping people navigate, or like is that something you have to like, be trained on, or is that something you don't even like think about?
Like AI in general.
Yeah, I mean like there's it's starting to be implemented in Adobe. It's starting to be implemented everywhere, and I think it's like
Mhm.
a getting to speak to a digital artist, I think there's a lot of artists right now that are curious about it or worried about it or they start using it. Like I started using it for certain things. Like, is that something that you're helping people with, like at
Yeah.
Adobe? Because like, people now.
Um, well, I mean, we do have evangelists who are specifically on the AI side, like Chris Castanova. She's a new evangelist. I think people should look her up. She's amazing. She works heavily with the AI team on tons of different stuff, especially with Firefly. But I just actually wrote a book about AI. I wrote an ebook, and I actually just did a talk at the mini chat conference online, the first Instagram summit that they produced. And I mean, I have a lot to say about AI. I think there's so much like worry, of course, just and that's been an issue overall, not just for AI but just in tech literacy. I think we've come into a place where people are just not aware of how to see what's real and what isn't, and and also how to understand like how things are, and that just ties into like I don't know if that's economics or humanity, I don't know, but like when I read books and I see how jobs have shifted over the years, I'm like, okay, yeah, like you can't work that job forever because that's not realistic. Like things change,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like it's
of
just stuff
course.
that like people will get mad about stuff, but then I'm like, don't you guys know that this is just how shit is? Either you accept it or you fight it. And for me, I think the reason why I've always found so much success is because I always keep an open mind. Even though I have my concerns, I combat those concerns with action by creating an ebook that educates people to be more tech literate with AI. Helping educate them on what is already being used in AI, whether that's the different suggestions you see on your social media or whatever have you, and then teaching them how to utilize it. How can you use things like Grammarly or Jasper or ChatGPT or Firefly or Fireflies, like the note taking app. Like, how can you use AI to your advantage to make your job easier, to make yourself better, to make your shit more efficient, so that you're not always doing the same shit over and over again. So
Yeah,
I think that people are more concerned with fighting shit. Granted, yes, there should be a lot of fights with like, and I love that there's so much happening with like content credentials and stuff like that, but like um I still think that there's just so much work to be done on the human level of people like like understanding themselves, understanding emotional intelligence, understanding change and fear based on change. um I don't know, there's like so much shit.
What's the name of your book, by the way?
My ebook is called, and it's gonna be on my website. I have no idea what it's called. I think it's like
You don't know the name of your own book.
because
Okay,
I just
great.
wrote like 3 of them. Hold
Okay.
on.
The thing about like AI to me that I think everyone's trying to
AI
fight it.
Toolkit.
What's it called?
It is called the AI Toolkit for Powerful Storytelling.
Okay, good enough. That's
Yes.
good. Like,
Mhm.
I don't think any of this is gonna go away. So by just sitting and fighting it and refusing to use it, you're just gonna get left behind. Like,
Yeah.
you're better off just learning about it and getting in front of it. And maybe then once you have enough knowledge, like, okay, I choose not to use this. But just being ignorant to things isn't gonna help you at all because we're just gonna keep going on without you then.
I mean, the
Like
world moves with or without you, man. You know
I
what I'm
was literally, yeah, right before I sat down, like a minute, I was like looking on threads and like one of my friends who likes to fight about everything, like he's an artist, he
saying?
just complains constantly. He's
Bless
like,
him.
ha ha ha. Now there's software called Nightshade that poisons your artwork. Basically, it's this software you can put on your artwork where the human eye can't see it change, but like it poisons AI so they can't use that artwork later on.
Huh.
Like I could like go on something and say, make me a giraffe in the city, like how Swopes would do, and
Right.
then pull all your images. Well, this Nightshade thing, if you start poisoning quote all your artwork, AI couldn't use those images later. So
All right.
like it's just like it's also like just fucking just why just stop fighting. I love it. I use ChatGPT like every day now. I mean it's amazing.
Mhm.
I started using it in some of the Adobe software. I think it's great. I had a dinner the other night with one of my friends who he's like, yeah, the whole idea of like, okay, I have an event in Singapore next year and it's about cars. And so this is what I do for a living and like it's about cars. And like it just gives you ideas. Like maybe why don't you go explore this route? Why would you not take help? I just don't get it.
I don't
It
know.
doesn't make sense.
People, it's the mind does really wild stuff when you feel threatened, and I think it goes
Hmm.
back to us just being like true humans at the end of the day. And we're seeing this a lot in politics, in humanity, from war to whatever, to like even our online engagements. I mean, everybody is getting in this archaic mode where they're allowing all this shit to like seek deep into their like biological, psychological shit. And like if you don't educate yourself on how you operate and how humans operate, you can get sucked into that shit. So that's why I think I'm such a big fan of meditation and education and knowledge and reading and self assessment and self preservation, that I'm just like, y'all, we need to get
Yeah, totally.
it together.
We can end it there. I mean, we covered quite a lot. Is there anything else that you want to talk about before we hang up? Anything at all? Any
I
advice for young
don't know.
artists or young creatives?
I mean, I'd say my greatest advice is just keep going. Don't give up. I think giving up is obviously the worst possible thing you can do. But sometimes, um, giving up may look like a shift and it may look like a change, but change is good and change is inevitable. And maybe just exchange the word change for evolution.
There you go. I like that. That's good.
Yes.
All right, let's send it there because I really like that. Elise, thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, of course. Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
have just as many questions for you, but hopefully one day I'll be able to interview you and I'll get some more
Ask me one. Oh, you
knowledge.
have a podcast, don't you? You have your own podcast.
I do, but I need
What is
to
it
get
called?
back
Swopes is
into it.
Dopes or something?
Swope So Dope. Yeah, that's from
Yeah,
like
that's
one of
it.
my raps when I was a rapper. SWOPES. My crew, my boo, my weed's the best. So ahead of my time, you can't see me yet. But the last thing you ever see is me be stressed.
All right. What was it? Oh, fuck. I have one more question. Sorry. Swopes isn't your last name, is it?
It is my real last name.
Oh, it is?
Hmm.
Oh shit! I thought it was like just like something you came up with when you were younger.
No, that's my
Because I
real
was gonna
name.
say your last name's not anywhere online. Okay, well then never
It's
mind.
literally my name.
I've never saw anyone with that last name before. That's great.
I mean, yeah, I don't know what's going on with that, but I'm all for it. I love
It's
it. But
plural.
we do have a lot of family members, so I'm not sure when they're gonna pop up. But they're
Amazing.
very quiet, so who knows?
All right, fair enough. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
your time.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yes. We'll chat
Cool.
soon.
Talk to you later.
Take care, my
All right,
friend.
see ya. Bye bye.
All right, everybody, I hope you enjoyed that. Maybe you have questions or opinions about what we talked about on this episode. Maybe you have your own questions about your art career or are just looking for some advice. Shoot us an email and we'll answer your questions on a future episode. You can email us directly on our website, cleanbreakpodcast.com. And just a reminder that all our past episodes are available there, as well as a ton of free resources, guides, and tips on how to make more money with your art and get more people interested. This podcast is produced by Elijah Walsh, theme song by Ditch David, additional research by Ikram Dadar. I want to thank Patrick, Jason, and the Always Art team. My name is Matt Gondek. I'll crash you next time.